But ask yourself, if you don't like it, is it too sour? Or is it too bitter? If it was too sour, you likely also had a short brew time, maybe even under 2 minutes. If it was too bitter, you probably had too long of a brew time, maybe even beyond 3.5 minutes. So what you do in this situation is you adjust your grind size, because your grind size in this case actually helps to control how fast the water flows through that coffee. And when you grind a little bit more coarsely, it will flow faster, reducing your brew time. If you grind a little bit more finely, it will slow down the flow of water and increase your brew time. But it's not just the time that you're changing. The more finely you grind the coffee, the less time it takes to actually extract that flavor. So a perfect example of this would be a French press compared to espresso. Those are on opposite ends of the spectrum in grind size. A French press uses a huge coarse grind size, and an espresso uses one of the finest grind settings out there. And when you compare the brew time, 4 to 5 minutes for a French press versus 20 to 30 seconds for espresso, you can see that there's a direct correlation between how finely or how coarsely you grind your coffee and how long your brew time should be. In the case of the French press, because you have such a long brew time, your grind size can be very forgiving. But in the case of espresso, it is brutally demanding. You have to get your grind size exactly right, or it's not going to taste very good. This is why any kind of coffee maker that uses that percolation style, meaning the water pours through the coffee, is so frustrating to get right. Because anytime you taste your coffee and you say, oh, it's too sour, let me grind more finely, you can end up exponentially changing your extraction, because when you grind more finely, you also are increasing the brew time, because anytime you reduce that particle size, you're shortening the necessary brew time, and you're also lengthening the actual brew time by slowing down the flow of water through that coffee. So we end up with a very basic principle. If your coffee is too sour, grind more finely. If your coffee is too bitter, or definitely if it's getting into being astringent, grind more coarsely.